So moving on to nutrition now. Nutrition research suggests that you should eat around 300 calories extra per day as you go throughout pregnancy. There is a bit of research that suggests that in the first trimester you may actually not need to increase your calories from what they were before pregnancy, but I would preface by saying that you really have to be eating a healthy amount in order for that to be the case. That healthy amount that I would suggest would be at least eating what is your maintenance calories. And if you caught my last video, I did touch on what maintenance calories are and how to calculate them in that last video. So check that out if you are interested. During first trimester and throughout pregnancy, it is generally recommended to eat a balanced diet of all macronutrient groups, so that's our protein, our carbs, and our fats, focusing on good whole foods, so vegetables, fruit, lean protein, grains, healthy fats, and that is really something that is recommended whether you're pregnant or not, but the same applies for pregnancy, of course. During pregnancy, it is also recommended that you consume a diet that's high in micronutrients, so vitamins and minerals. Particularly, it's important to consume foods that are high in B vitamins and folate and iron and potassium and all of these nutrients that your body requires in abundance when it is growing a little human. And I would say that this is the case during pregnancy, but also in general life. To be really healthy is to try and choose foods that are generous in micronutrients, so they have nutritional value to them, as opposed to foods that are empty calories or that are really devoid of nutrients, and those are likely to be your more highly processed foods. So eating foods that are close to nature is a great way to ensure that you are getting lots of goodness in what you are eating. Although it is a goal to eat foods that are high in micronutrients and full of all the good stuff, I have definitely found in my first trimester, when I've been struggling really badly with nausea, this has been a lot easier said than done. And I'll talk a little bit more about that now. I have found throughout my first trimester that I have been ravenously hungry, super hungry all the time. But with the nausea that I've had to eat really plain and bland foods, particularly from week 6 to week 10 and a half. This was really, really bad. And I was eating a lot of carbohydrates, not so balanced with fats and proteins, particularly compared to what I would have been eating prior to being pregnant. As well as eating lots of carbohydrates like bread and pasta and crumpets, I did actually really crave fruit. I've been loving mandarins, pineapples, and grapes and bananas, so at least those are carbohydrates, but they do have a lot of micronutrient value, so a lot of goodness in them. My biggest recommendation with striving to get the micronutrients in your food if you are pregnant and you are struggling with morning sickness is to get creative in where you are getting, say, the protein and the fats from. If you are craving that real simple carbohydrate, bread, pasta, plain, dry crackers, I know that for a lot of women this is the food that they are resorting to eating when they are really sick with morning sickness. So my recommendation, or what I've been doing, is, for example, bread. I've been eating heaps of bread. I'm still eating heaps of bread, the most bread I've ever eaten in my life. But what I'm doing is I'm choosing a bread that is like a grainy bread, so it's actually a lot higher in protein and fats, and not just pure carbohydrates, which would be the case if I was eating a lot of white bread. So it's, important to look at like what swaps you can make to get more balance, even out of those foods that are those safe foods for you to eat when you're feeling sick. I've also been eating a lot of pasta when my nausea has been at its worst, just plain pasta with melted butter on it. And that's something that I've found I can really eat. It fills the gap, fills me up. And what I've been doing lately is looking for a protein pasta rather than just a plain carbohydrate-based pasta. And so I found this protein pasta that has 37 grams of protein per serve. So it's actually a really decent amount of protein, but it's plain, it's bland, it does the trick for my morning sickness. So in terms of protein intake, which of course is really important, and especially when we're talking about strength training, it's important to have adequate protein so that you can actually get the benefit from that training. I have really struggled to eat meat during my pregnancy. Before pregnancy, I would have had 1 to 2 meals probably per day of lean protein from meat, and also maybe eggs or egg whites as well. During pregnancy, literally the thought of any meat at all, apart from this very specific battered and fried chicken breast from the poke bowl place in town, has made me feel sick. So I've been eating this battered and fried chicken with teriyaki sauce every now and then, but other than that, I've literally not been eating meat at all. I can't do it. The smell of it, the thought of it at all, can't do it. What I have been having again more recently is yogurt, and I buy a max protein variety of yogurt. So plain yogurt, it's low sugar and higher in protein, so that is something that I will keep incorporating. I also have been really enjoying making smoothies with mango and banana, and I do use my high protein yogurt in those, but I would like to start incorporating some clean protein powder into those as well to boost my protein intake. Of course, I know that having adequate fats and adequate protein is going to help with fullness and satiety throughout the day. Fats and proteins are digested more slowly than carbohydrates, so they're going to keep you much fuller for longer. That is why I recommend to all of my clients eating meals that are balanced in fats and carbs and protein throughout the day to keep your energy more stable, to stay full. So of course, I haven't been doing myself any favors in that respect with eating a lot of carbohydrates, but as I said, I am doing my best to make those swaps, to get the grainy bread, to get the protein pasta, and to start bringing in more protein as I feel less nauseous and I can start to branch out a little bit more on what I'm eating. I'm hoping I can balance out my diet a little bit better in the future as I go into that second trimester. My overriding goal with nutrition in my first trimester has been to get enough calories. Of course, I've been keeping in mind that I need to be eating at least my maintenance. So I was eating around 2,200 calories a day before I was pregnant, which is actually a bit higher than my maintenance calculations, but it is really my new maintenance that I have trained my body to maintain on. So I've been eating at least that 2,200. It's been more like 2,500 when I've been tracking. So I've been tracking now and then to make sure that I am actually getting enough. But I have also been so hungry, literally starving all the time. And the most important thing for me has been to listen to my body and eat as much food as I need to feel like I'm full. Of course, I did mention that if I start to feel hungry, my nausea gets a lot worse. So I've really been eating abundantly, and I haven't been worried about eating too much. If my body is hungry, I'm accepting that that is my body telling me that it needs more fuel, and I'm listening to those hunger cues. Before I wrap up on nutrition, I did just want to mention that I've had heaps of mums reach out since I made my first pregnancy update video where I talked about the hormone changes that are going on, particularly in relation to the increase in progesterone affecting digestion, and other mums out there struggling with that poor digestion and constipation during the first trimester. So one thing that I have been doing is incorporating a digestive enzyme. Even before I was pregnant, I incorporated digestive enzyme and a probiotic. So something that I would highly recommend if you are struggling with your digestion, bloating during pregnancy, that first trimester in particularly, incorporating a digestive enzyme is something that you can do just to help support your body and alleviate that digestion to any extent that you can. I've also had another major breakthrough this week with my coffee aversion. So from like 6 weeks through until 10 and a half weeks, I had a major aversion to coffee. I couldn't stand the smell or the taste of it. But miraculously this week, I've actually really started to enjoy coffee again. So I've been having caffeinated coffee in the morning. If I do have another coffee later in the day, I'm making that a decaf. So just sticking to one at the moment, and that's what I'll aim to do. I have done a lot of research around caffeine intake during pregnancy. Of course, I also discussed that with my doctor and with my midwife at the start of my pregnancy. And the general consensus from research is that it's safe to have up to 200 milligrams of caffeine per day. Some studies even suggest up to 300. And the thing about caffeine is that it restricts our blood vessels. So there is concern that caffeine intake during pregnancy can restrict or reduce the blood supply to the baby, which can lead to a lower birth weight in particular studies of women who have had a higher caffeine intake during pregnancy. So the research generally states that under that 200 milligrams per day is pretty safe, but I will keep doing research on it and update you guys of anything more that I learn. I do want to make sure that even if I am enjoying my daily morning coffee, that my baby is safe and healthy and growing as it should be. So far so good, but stay tuned for more on that. I want to touch briefly on a couple of the mindset challenges that I have kind of faced and experienced throughout pregnancy so far. Of course, as a mind and body coach, I guide clients with becoming the master of their physical self, but also exploring their inner journey that they are going on and understanding their experience so that they can grow from it as much as possible and be healthy and happy and fulfilled humans. One challenge that has been a big one for me during the first trimester has been the intense symptoms that I have faced. And I've gone from feeling like I was totally in control of my body, I was the master of it, to feeling totally out of control of my body. And I know that a lot of other mums have shared the same sort of experience, and that can be quite distressing to literally feel like you are not even in your own body anymore. What has been really helpful for me in accepting the symptoms for what they are and accepting that sort of lack of control feeling and things changing is actually understanding those hormone changes that are going on. So I did touch on these in my first pregnancy update video if you want to go back and watch that if you missed it. But there are massive dramatic hormone changes that are going on inside your body in the first trimester of pregnancy. And what I have been reminding myself is that the extreme symptoms, the horrible nausea, the headaches, the fatigue, literally feeling like I'm on death's door sometimes, that is all a sign that my body is doing what it's meant to do, right? That is all a sign that I am having this really strong hormone reaction, which is a good thing in terms of growing a healthy baby. So I keep reminding myself that those strong symptoms are a positive sign in terms of my hormone response, and there is so much research that really supports that these horrible symptoms are a good sign that you have a much lesser chance of having a miscarriage, and I've literally been reminding myself of that. Another challenge that has been on my mind is this feeling of really being in a transition. It's like I am leaving behind an old version of myself, but I am not yet this new version of myself that I'm becoming. I am in this transition, and I think it's really normal to feel like this during pregnancy and during any big transition in your life. It's okay and it's human to feel sort of lost when you are in the process of becoming. So if you are in the middle of it, feeling like you're in a big transition, you are not the person that you were, but you are still not that divine mother that you are stepping into becoming. You are not fully fledged as that next version of yourself. I think it's really important to give yourself grace and to breathe and to remind yourself that all transformations or transitions take time, and you are right where you're meant to be, growing into who you are becoming. Traversing these challenges of pregnancy require the same qualities from you that traversing any challenges in life require. They require self-awareness, and they require a mindset that is open to growth. I think that if you have these two things and you keep focusing on working on these two things, you can have a pregnancy that is a process of evolving, and it's an enjoyable growth experience, even though it's going to be really challenging as well. I'm going to wrap this video up now, but in my next video, I want to dive in a whole lot more to the mind pillar of my coaching, which has been the biggest evolution in my coaching practice, particularly since finishing my studies in psychology and NLP and holistic coaching, and diving deeper into this whole other layer of who we are. I'm also really excited to next week share the details of my pregnancy and postpartum coaching offering that I will be launching very soon. I've been working on this in the background so that I can give women the exercise, the nutrition, and that mindset support to really thrive in this challenging but beautiful journey of pregnancy. That is all for me for this week. If you have any questions, any comments, please feel free to leave them below. If there's something you want me to talk about in a future video, please sing out. If you want to contact me privately to chat about anything, you can always email me. As always, the details will be down below. Thank you for watching, guys, and I will see you next week.